Welcome to Not Strong. This is a podcast for men about empowering the human spirit. What do you do when the things you relied upon quit working? When your physical and emotional strengths are put to the test? Do you push through, hold on even tighter, or have you learned how to surrender? And what does that look like? We're here to explore the human spirit, tapping into something bigger than ourselves, living a happier, healthier, more fulfilling life. Thanks for joining us on the Not Strong journey. Welcome to Not Strong. My name is Kurtis Loftus, Not Strong, empowering the human spirit. We're on episode 4 and I have a special guest with me today, Jeremiah Stanley, with you're the pastor of
Trinity Mandarin.
Trinity Mandarin.
Yeah.
We know each other through a Bible study.
That's right.
Yeah, and I'm
early on Thursday mornings.
Yeah, so we're gonna dig into that in a little bit, but before getting into the conversation, it's been a while. I've tried to do this podcast like every other week. Sometimes 3 weeks might pass. I'm getting close to a month since the last podcast.
You're due.
So I apologize to our friends that are still following us. We have about 40, so a big audience. You get ready.
Overwhelming.
It's empowering the human spirit. For a year, I did this podcast with a dear friend, Tim Hamby, who both of us, we started this because of several things, long careers, long marriages, but we also were diagnosed, both of us, different forms of cancer in 2024. And as 2025 post-cancer, we're both in remission and we're seeing some things, socially that we're sharing. And I'm like, gosh, I need to see if Tim would be interested in chatting a little bit about just how we get through big challenges. And, there are all sorts of challenges in life, but when it's life and death, it gets really, really big. It becomes, something where faith is super important, where you lean spiritually, if you have, a place to go.
Right.
Which I don't know how anyone gets through life without a place to settle into like that. So we started the podcast, and here we are. It's now I'm into the second year, and Tim has passed. And this is my 4th podcast without Tim, but I recognize him. I just basically share with the audience that this year, as I do podcasts, Tim will be with us.
Sure.
He's part of this thing still, and I'm going to stay true to the mission, which is see this thing from a worldly perspective, but also more importantly, we're led by something bigger, greater,
right.
And that's where we draw our encouragement and strength. So today's topic, thankfully you were willing to hear the pitch. Would you be interested in sharing about kindness and how kindness matters in the world today, especially today? So there's a lot that I researched. It sounds like that you've done some work.
Yeah.
After I shared an outline. And I've wasted enough time rambling, which I do a lot of, and there'll be a bunch of editing going on.
Good.
But do you mind leading us in a prayer?
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
I think there's no better way to start a conversation than that. So let's pray together. Lord, we are just so thankful for this opportunity. Lord, we think about the background of this podcast and just thinking about, Lord, the memory of Tim and just the friendship, even though I never met him personally, Lord, just hearing Kurtis talk about the deep love and respect that he had for him and his family, and Lord, just the way that they started this thing together. I thank you for the beauty of that. And Lord, I pray that in this conversation today, Lord, that our conversation will be a reflection of you and the kindness that you perfectly demonstrate. We can try our best, but we fall so short, Lord, but you modeled that perfectly. And so I pray that as we move forward, we would not lose sight of that we're pursuing you, and that none of us are going to be the ones that we should be looking at, but we should be continuing to press forward toward you and that perfection and beauty we see in you. I pray you bless our conversation today, and I pray that it would be something that would be helpful to even just one person who is hearing this, that would help them to just pause maybe and think about the way that kindness can be demonstrated, and it would have an effect on our world to make it a better place, and a place that is just more healthy and enjoyable to be in, and that would lead to a more flourishing society. We ask all of this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Well, now we don't have to have a podcast.
We did it.
That was great. That was great. Thank you, Jeremiah. And we have only really known each other for what, 6 months, 8?
Yeah,
10,
probably a little less than a year.
Yeah, less than a year. In fact, I remember sitting in your church with Alex and KK, the family, and so it's over a year maybe, because I had been diagnosed.
Okay.
I didn't really get to meet and know you because we didn't start the men's Bible.
Right. That's what I'm thinking of.
We're both thinking that, but I got to hear you just be in the church, and I was receiving some. Literally while I was in church, some notifications and stuff, and it was related to the cancer. And I just remember going, "Wow, here I am, just like, coming to God, resting in His, strength and grace and all of that." But man, it's especially early on, it's. Would you say rubber meets the road? Maybe
it's the reality of life.
Yeah. Just like, here we are. I'm here with God in this sanctuary, and I'm just going, all right, brand new into this journey, but I'll trust Him. Give Him this same reverence. So, what I'd like to ask is some background, because we've done the Bible study. Learning a lot about you through that and your study habits and how you lead men. And I just enjoy the wisdom you share, the way you just respect the men. We were talking about respect this morning.
That's the hard topic.
Yeah. So that was good. And so how about some background?
Yeah, I'd love to dig into that. So, I think the first thing I want to say is just how honored I am to be a part of this. And like I said, I never had the chance to meet Tim personally, but I did watch some of you guys' podcasts, and not even this was before you even gave me the invite, but just when we had first met and you were talking about it. And so I went on there and watched some of those that you guys did early on, and they were moving. I mean, I could see the connection, the friendship that you guys had. And so that definitely respect that. And I think it's a beautiful thing that you're trying to carry that on. And continue that legacy. So that's incredible. So a little bit about me. So married for 25 years, be 26 years in August. My wife and I have 3 boys. So kind of moving into a different season of life, 21, 18, and 15, about to be 16 next month. So that's a new stage of parenting and just navigating that journey. And but we love it. Very, very blessed in that. We live on the far west side of Jacksonville. That's not where I was born or raised. My wife is from Florida. She's native here. Fernandina Beach is where she's from. But I grew up in the Midwest, in the state of Missouri, the Show Me State, and very rural, kind of agriculture based, and that was just part of my upbringing. So in 2018, we.
So the city, though, the area, which part of Missouri?
So just outside of Branson. Just outside of Branson. Yeah.
You said Springfield too?
Well, Springfield is just north of us. And so Branson is about 45 minutes south. And then Is Springfield the Simpsons, by the way, or no? Where are they? Different Springfield. Oh. I think that's Springfield, Illinois. Okay. I think it's where they're.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm not
I have been asked that before, actually. But yeah, different Springfield.
Geographically clumsy sometimes.
It's all good. It's all good. So we bought a small property over there. And I had to get back to my Midwest roots. And so I raise beef cattle, and we've got some goats and chickens and all that fun stuff. But so Are
there a lot of pastors that are cow people?
There are some out there. Yeah, not everybody. Small group of us, but we love it. For 17 years, I worked in Christian higher ed. So I was in student life, kind of as a pastor to students, and then for the last 3 years, we've been at Trinity Mandarin, the campus pastor there, and just love it. Great season of life for us right now.
There you go. Amen. I think you're perfect for this topic for a lot of reasons, but as we talk like our kids, I'm a grandfather now.
Yeah.
So, and we were laughing about that this morning, and I've shared this with you. It's amazing that you could be my son. It's that's the age difference right now. And I'm like, 20 years, holy cow. I feel sometimes I step into rooms with people and they're like my peers or, and I feel that way in my heart and head. And then the next thing you know, someone says, oh, I'm 45. And I'm like, 20 years? That's a lot of time.
Just a number.
No, because now, I'm in the grandfather part of life. And we're talking kids. And my kids are, 36 and 35. But it's amazing because it goes so fast. And as it's, speeding forward, I'm recognizing things that become based on who I was and what I remember as a child.
Sure.
60 years later, who I am now and what I think, because I'm still childlike. I would like to imagine I still have some of that childlike tendency. And, imagine myself in this world as a kid.
Right.
I just do that. And I'm like, man, it's such a tough world.
Yes.
And a big part of it is, obviously how adults behave. It's like, why do adults behave so poorly? And do we not understand what we're demonstrating for our children from just solving problems, behavioral reacting. So this kindness thing has just been on me now, and with you and your kids, and as a pastor, I felt like, man, well, this is where I want to go.
Sure.
And so I set up some questions, and we'll just go through it this way. When you hear the word kindness, what comes to mind first? How do you see it expressed in faith and daily life?
It's a great question. And yeah, kindness is not a word that we even throw around that much, right? I mean, we may use the word kind on occasion, but kindness is not part of our regular vocabulary. But when you think about the roots of that and kind of where we go to, especially from the perspective of like, where is this grounded in spiritually, I think you have to go back to the listing of the fruit of the Spirit. So we know that kindness shows up in that list as a direct fruit of the work of the Holy Spirit in us. So I think of that in relationship to kindness is usually not naturally generated out of just our humanity. We typically demonstrate the opposite of that. So I think when you come across someone, and usually it's a stark contrast, right? I mean, when you experience kindness, it stands out because it's so different from how you normally interact with people and what you normally expect to receive from people. And so when you find a person that is demonstrating that, generally speaking, they've either, to your point, they've seen it modeled somewhere and they're emulating that model, or they are leaning on some type of a spiritual source for that, because naturally speaking, it's just so unnatural of us to respond in a kind, compassionate way toward people. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm just thinking we're busier now.
Yes.
So how is there some ideas from an intentionality standpoint to slow people down or to get them to think? Because it's even today when we were doing our meeting, I'm sitting back going, this is so beautiful because it's 6 a.m, 6:30, it's so easy. The time of day, my brain, everything's right.
Yep.
And then the day starts and you're going and you become a whole different animal.
Yep.
And how do you adjust in the daytime?
Yeah, no, I think those are challenges that we all face, and I think you were onto it earlier when you talked about the modeling part and how adults are behaving. And I do think, so the old expression is like more is caught than taught. So I do think for especially younger children, they're watching and they're observing way more than we give them credit for. Yeah. They're paying attention to even like simple things. How do you interact with the person at the drive-through?
Oh yeah.
How do you interact with the daycare worker that you're exchanging? I mean, just these little interactions that we think, to your point about the busyness, it's like just not even a second thought. We exchange a word or don't exchange a word, and we think of it as nothing, but our children are sitting back and they're taking all that in. They're observing that. And so I think even in just the small interactions, we're beginning to build a base for them, a model of like, this is how you interact with people. Yeah. And I think that has a huge effect on whether or not they see other individuals as people created in God's image that bear his glory, and like this is another human being. And even if we're at odds or there's an issue we're trying to resolve, am I still treating them as a person created in God's image? And does that make a difference in how that exchange goes?
Yeah. For a younger person understanding this, I could imagine it's a little more complicated or harder than in an older person like me.
Sure.
Well, there's a couple things. One, I'm on the back side of life. I'm semi-retired. I don't have all the stresses. I've lived enough of the craziness, just all of it, and so when I see poor behavior, I think I'm more influenced by that now than I was 20 years ago.
Sure.
I think poor behavior 20 years ago for me was excusable.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I could say, well, this is necessary, or this is, I deem it important because it gains me this.
Yeah.
So even though I'm hurting someone's feelings or, dismissing their emotions,
right,
I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. And you could justify it.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Ways.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take it all the way back to the children today.
Right.
Do you have some concern with the way our world works socially and how they interact with phones and devices and where they gain any of this knowledge, because it's one thing to be, and it's the same case. Again, as a kid, I could go home and I could put on, a decent face and I could get through my chores and, decent enough grades. But man, if I would disappeared from the house and was with my friends, I was ridiculously stupid.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, it's a different world than, you talked about the 20-year gap in age between us, but I mean, going back to your childhood, even my childhood. So I was born in 1980. I mean, you think about what technology looked like in 1980 compared to 2026. I mean, this is night and day. So I think that that also has changed the way we learn to interact with other human beings. So maybe to take it back one little step, I think if we're going to specifically talk about children, I think you have to ground this in that understanding and teaching of like, what is a human being and where do they get their value from? And why should I treat another individual right? Why should, in other words, if they have something that I want, why should I not take it? What gives me the understanding of recognizing the value of that person? So I think that's an important part. But then what complicates that, to your point, is this digital world that we live in and just the effect that has had on our wiring. And how much time children are spending on the screen and not face to face, not exchanging in words and expressions and
eyeball to eyeball.
Exactly.
This eyeball to eyeball thing is so big.
So big. In fact, so being in that college environment for 17 years and seeing, so I started in 2007. The iPhone came out in 2008, somewhere around that same time frame. So seeing the progression in the way that students would interact or not interact. And when I left that world in 2023, and I know there's always this thing of like, oh, kids these days, or there's always a way, but I'm telling you, there was a stark difference in those generations of kids, even in the 2020, 21, those years compared to when I started in 07, 08, that you could see just their ability to sit down and engage in a conversation and be able to track with you, and the empathy and understanding, very different. I do think the digital interaction has an effect on that for sure. Yeah.
In fact, you hit on the empathy piece of this, and one of the, just in some of the research I was trying to go after, and with chat you sort of drive it in a way. You sort of lead it.
You're steering it.
You're steering it. But it was like from an empathetic standpoint, I feel like it's really hard to have empathy, true empathy.
Yes,
if you're not connected in a way.
Yeah. Well, so body language, right? So when you're scrolling on your phone, there's no tension. There's no pushback. There's no. It's the unspoken, unwritten things. I mean, if I brought up a really tough topic and said, "Hey, Kurtis, let's talk about this." So I'm going to feel immediately you're like, "Ooh,
right.
that's
Yep.
heavy," you know.
Yep.
Well, on a screen, you don't feel that. You're just scrolling through, and that tension doesn't exist. And so I think that takes away, and how quickly we bounce from topic to topic or idea to idea, just seamlessly. That doesn't happen in real life. You know, there's a loss of that when you're dealing with the screen. And so I think this affects both the individual person, their fragility, you know, their ability to kind of handle conversation directly, but then also their ability to relate. So I think both of those are impacted by that.
Yeah. And where do we make that up then?
Yeah.
How is there? Is it the responsibility of the parent? Is it the responsibility of the educators, the leaders? I mean, right now, I think there's court case. I think it's going through the Supreme Court or something.
Okay.
They have, or at least they're doing hearings,
Gotcha.
Capitol Hill, like looking at our leadership from the social side. The Mark Zuckerbergs are on, you know, facing these kind of challenges.
They're
Like
under scrutiny.
it's been
hearings before Congress right now.
They're you know, 15 years ago, your practices were obviously very much about gaining as many eyeballs onto your, you know, devices and making sure. Who cares really how this impacts a life? And it really did mess with some kids. COVID messed with children, and I think we're still trying to get out of that. So what is I'm really jumping forward now, but what do you see from leadership, church leaders, or faith leaders, our political leaders? I mean, what are we going to be trying to do to adjust this?
Address it.
Do you have
so one of the best resources that I have come across, and this is out there, I think it's beginning to get into the educational circles as well, but a guy named Jonathan Haidt, his last name is Haidt. He wrote a book called The Anxious Generation, and he really does a great job of documenting, and it's very research based on, you know, the effects of digital technology on our kids. And so this idea of the anxious generation. So think about it a couple of ways that he illustrates this. So the instantaneous nature of digital technology.
Right.
So even like with my youngest son, you know, it's this whole thing of like, he doesn't like any kind of a delay. If he texts me a question or if he asks me something, he does not like, well, let me think about that. Or if I don't respond for a little bit, like he has trouble with that because he's accustomed to just everything being instantaneous. You send a prompt or a question and you get the immediate response. So that gratification piece is tough. So anyway, so that resource is good at both highlighting the issue, but then also helping us, and this is, I think, where you're going, is like, okay, what do we do about it? How do we change this? And so, I mean, I think if you even look in the news today, so in Australia, you know, they've just made a major change. They've banned access to social media for minors. And that's not going to be perfect. You can get around that, I'm sure, in some ways, but I think it highlights the intensity of this conversation and the focus that they have made on it to say, look, we think this is having such a dramatic negative effect
it is.
That we need to take an aggressive stance like this to actually ban minors from being on social media platforms. I think for the United States that we should be looking at that and saying, hey, what's going on here? Is there something
it gets back to our own emotional health, spiritual health, physical health. Right. I mean, this literally ties back to how we not just protect our children from what would be potentially catastrophic behaviors, things that just they're alone, they really feel disconnected, they have stresses, stresses, like real physical stresses, depressions.
You brought up a word a second ago. I think it was like presence, awareness. Are we aware? Oh, I know what it was. You said that they were alone. That they're alone. So I think if we're going to address this, so if I was a parent of young ones today, I think that there are a few things that I would kind of have in mind. One, how engaged are we with our children and their interaction in the digital world? So in other words, the temptation for parents is like, hey, this kind of occupies your brain power and your energy and your focus. So here, take this tablet, go off in the room, and I'm going to work on something else. And it could be minutes, hours, whatever. And as they get older, what kind of habits are we reinforcing there? And then what awareness do we have of what they're engaging with on those platforms? And then are we using that as a substitute to say, okay, I'm going to not engage as a parent to have sit down conversation and or even just go outside and play, touch the grass. Is that the big, that's the saying these days. Am I being intentional about, time that I'm spending that's not associated with a digital electronic connection, and making sure that we're prioritizing that as a family. So I don't think that technology is the enemy. I don't think it's something that we have to avoid altogether. But I do think we have to be intentional about how we're using it, how much time we're spending on it, and supplementing that with other healthy behaviors as well.
We're missing the opportunity for the child to really fully understand what an empathetic heart means to their health and well-being. What acting kindly might look like and mean to their overall longevity, even like how you're talking about.
There are studies that show, and so I'll maybe out of an effort to kind of get us deeper into the kindness topic for that's really what we're focusing on here. The effects that anger, bitterness, the opposite of kindness can have on our body.
Exactly.
That as we harbor those things, that comes out in unhealthy ways. It exhibits itself in unhealthy ways within even our physical body, and not to mention the breakdown of relationships and just the unhealthy dimensions of that in other aspects of our life.
My question to Chat was a little different. I was asking Chat, as we get older, as we age, like I said earlier, do we gain empathy? Do we get kinder, or do we not?
Right.
Do we start to get more bitter? I mean, what is the general track for
that's interesting.
The species? Because I know both can exist.
Sure. So here's the argument that I would lay out. I would lay out, kind of going to what I said before, that kindness is not our natural tendency. So I think what we have done as a society is, even those who would not claim maybe a relationship with Christ or some type of a deep spiritual connection, they have learned to model and emulate behavior that ultimately gained them something. Okay, so we said as a society, if you want to advance in your career, if you want to move forward in a way that's healthy, you got to behave and model exhibit a certain type of behavior in order for that to work. Because if I am just completely selfish, completely self-centered, that's probably going to have negative effects on how I move forward and advance in my career, in my marriage relationship, and all aspects of my life. And so I think sometimes we've demonstrated a quasi-kindness that still has at its root a form of selfishness or self-centeredness, because we said, I'm going to behave this way to get this thing that ultimately benefits me.
Right.
All right. And so the counter argument to that is a view of life that is not self-centered, but is others-centered.
Yeah.
And I just think that outside of a relationship with Christ, that is so foreign, to our existence. And so I think going back to his model, and so as society moves ultimately further and further away from that kind of a centering or grounding of that idea of a servant-focused approach to serving others and putting others before my own interest. As we move further away from that, I think kindness goes out the window, and we're seeing the denigration of that. And so I to answer your question specifically, I think the only hope we have is to bring back the model of Christ's behavior as a known thing, as something that is understood, as something that is emulated. And I think that for a lot of the generation, especially growing up today, they don't know that. that that's
Right,
so
right.
foreign and distant from them that they don't have a concept of even understanding living like that. And so I think that's beginning to have an effect on what we see.
Good point. Yeah. Yeah. And I shared before the podcast, one of the, research efforts I took on this morning related to, I always love bringing in scriptural, biblical text. And the thing that came to me this morning was Matthew, where Jesus talks about, if you're slapped, turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
Offer the other cheek.
Yes.
And again, how does that tie into kindness or empathy or any of this, other than to say it's how we respond, right? And I know we can justify a quick, immediate, angered response.
Yes.
And for most of us, that makes perfect sense. It seems to level you up with the other person, right? It's like, all right. We're gonna do it this way.
I see you.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah, but with Jesus, if we're gonna take this on, this is what it kind of was explained. When Jesus tells someone to turn the other cheek, he's not encouraging He's not encouraging passivity or abuse. He's describing really a bold, nonviolent refusal to accept humiliation as your identity by offering the other cheek. You are refusing to retaliate, refusing to escalate, refusing to submit to dehumanization, forcing the aggressor to see you as an equal. In that culture, striking the other cheek, and it relates it back to the culture, because in the back then, a little different than today. It wasn't let's fight as much as it was to humiliate.
Right. It's an honor shame culture.
There it is. Yeah. And so in that culture, striking the cheek would require a different kind of blow, one used between equals, So anyways, the principles demonstrate strength under control, power restrained, because anyone can strike back, moral courage, far more courage to break the cycle of retaliation, freedom from ego, which I thought was, again, really important there. Just shows your identity is not determined by someone else's hostility,
right?
Which is really huge when you think about it.
Yes.
So, I bring that up because it's kind of that similar struggle with kindness, just how we receive emotional responses, quick anger, non-kind actions, and how we take that in. And does a child have a good chance of understanding that without you, me, parent, grandparent, leader, showing them that?
Yeah.
And so if you were to give like a top 3 examples of what someone, parent, because that's probably who's going to be listening to this, can do to model, again, or they're kind of a top 3 things if your child is in the midst of this struggle with understanding response, empathy. What are the 3 things again that you might be able to, if it is 3 that Jesus leads us through? Biblically?
So let's start with your example. So we're helping a child understand this. So modeling for sure. They're watching. So we've covered that. So I think in those instances where you see them, if it's with a sibling, for example, the sibling takes their favorite toy and they lash out. In that moment, we have to be intentional as a parent not to demonstrate the same type of behavior that we're asking them not to model. So it's controlling myself because I want to reach out and say, why did you do that?
We set it up that way, didn't we?
Yeah. So it's saying, okay, I'm gonna restrain myself and be the adult in this moment and just say, hey, that kind of behavior, that's not what we're going for here. And then explaining, taking that as a teaching moment to say there's a better way to act here. And there's a reason that you don't just, reach out and hit your brother or sister or yell at them or whatever it is, and taking that as a teaching moment, patiently walking them through that. I think that's helpful. But then also when you get into other seasons of life, it's kind of going to a deeper level, because I think especially in the adult world, oftentimes the reason that we struggle so much with our kindness is because well, you mentioned ego. Yes, it can be internal, but also I think sometimes we think the worst of the other individual.
Sure.
That's
a great point.
In an absence of
we have a way of spinning some things up in our mind.
Absolutely. So in an absence of trust,
that's the worst.
Fill it in, with I bet they're trying.
Oh, that is the worst.
They're trying to pull one over on me.
You leave a person alone in their thoughts like that after
it's like go in a dark place. Yes. So this brings me back to the model. And this always convicts me every time. So Jesus and Judas.
Oh gosh.
Jesus and Judas.
Yeah.
And so we know the story of Judas betrayed, Jesus, and yet he's right here in the inner circle. This is not just some guy kind of on the outside. This is right in the inner circle.
Yeah.
And Jesus even knows his intentions are not good, and yet he's still. What does he do? In that upper room, he washes all of the disciples' feet, including Judas's feet.
Yeah.
And he does this even knowing that the intentions are wrong. And so that's always a conviction to me to say, you know what, no matter, let's say the worst thought you have about that person is true. Let's just hypothetically say it is.
Yeah.
Does that still give you the right to say, I'm going to lash out. I'm going to be unkind.
Yeah.
They deserve it. They had it coming to them. That always convicts me.
Well, and it's interesting because I did ask about, hey, what if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the deal. It's like it can backfire.
It can.
And, so really I was asking, it feels, in the way they bulletize this is someone, the person that you're responding to, that you're demonstrating this whole other kind of response that they aren't expecting.
Right.
They're not expecting your kindness. They're not graciousness. They're
floor them.
Well, they get angry. They do. Yeah. The way they say, the way it's bulletized here, feels threatened by the calmness.
Yep.
So they're threatened. They could also interpret as weakness. Mm-hmm. And then there's this whole dominance, committed to dominance thing, and operating just from deep insecurity and pain. These people, they're just coming at this from such a different place.
Right.
So the way, here's what it says. So I asked, what do you do when a kindness devolves into hostility? And distinguish kindness from enabling.
Right. I love that because enabling is real. I mean, especially in family relationships, friend relationships. So I do think that we can, in an effort to be kind, oftentimes take that too far. And I think that's where discernment has to come in. We have to be
great point.
Discerning in our view of the entire relationship and the perspective on kind of the work that's either being done or not being done over time in a person's life that we're demonstrating kindness to. And man, it's such a delicate balance sometimes.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, I think here's the deal: we can be kind. Sometimes the kindest thing that we can do is tell the truth.
You sure? Yes.
Sometimes
absolutely.
that can be the kindest thing. Now, still, the tone that I use, the way I go at it, I can check that. But being kind doesn't always mean telling people what they want to hear,
right?
Or what they're expecting. Yeah.
Yeah. So that enabling piece, kindness is strength under control.
Yes.
Enabling is fear disguised as niceness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's a great point.
Yeah. So if your kindness allows harm to continue, it's no longer virtuous. It's avoidance.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to kind of differentiate between those two.
There's another one, add boundaries, the same teachings that call for mercy also affirm wisdom.
Yeah.
So
there's one of the greatest resources I've ever come across on this, a guy named Dr. Henry Cloud. He wrote a book. It's actually called Boundaries. And it's all, he deep dives into this exact topic of, how do we demonstrate faithful, God, Christ honoring behavior, but at the same time, not become a doormat and not enable people. And so having those boundaries is super helpful in helping us to show compassion, show empathy, show kindness, but also do it in a healthy way for both of us.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Remember, the goal is integrity, not outcome. How about that one?
That's helpful.
Yeah.
That's helpful. Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
That's
we're just going to stay in this place of being respectful,
right.
having integrity,
yes,
not worrying about.
Because we can't control it, right? We
Right.
can't control where it's going to end up. But
Well, that's what they say. Kindness is not a strategy to control others.
Yeah. 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 How many times have we been guilty of that, right?
Yeah. And it is a discipline to control yourself. If you are kind in order to get kindness back, you will burn out. If you are kind because it aligns with who you choose to be, you remain steady. It's pretty cool.
That is.
And then know when to withdraw. Sometimes the most powerful form of turning the other cheek is to disengage or disengagement.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and you have to know when to do that sometimes, because you can be in a no-win situation, and sometimes the best thing you can do is just if it takes fire and gasoline to ignite, right? I'm going to take one of those elements out of the equation.
So we're getting close, but I want to go through a couple of scriptural stuff because that's what I want. Yeah. So the epistle to the Romans. 12, chapter 12, 17 through 21. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Do not overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. This passage makes something clear. Retaliation lets evil set the terms.
You know, and a good point on this, Kurtis, is like sometimes we want to control the timeline of this, right? Like, so we want to be justified. We want to be, we want people to know that whatever their charge against us is, it's like, no, that's not true. We want to defend.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the better. Yeah, we rush to that conclusion instead of just trusting the process to know that, hey, time is a friend of truth, and this is God's going to ultimately make clear my intentions here. But I know I've got myself in trouble there of wanting that instant justification.
Now that was probably one of my worst character defects. It's just very fast.
Yeah.
And I taught my children that, unfortunately. And we've had conversations since then.
Sure.
But you can't undo those things.
Right.
You're just going to have to address them. And thankfully, I have the willingness, and my children have the willingness, and you can continue this open dialogue about behavioral stuff. But here's one for you: Book of Proverbs, chapter 15, verse 1. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. And obviously, gentleness doesn't guarantee peace, but harshness almost guarantees escalation.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Slow to anger equals power. Proverbs 16.
Yeah.
32, verse 32. I knew you knew these.
The Proverbs, the wisdom of Solomon is just on display in those. I mean, because this is just part of human history, right? I mean, even though these were written thousands of years ago.
Isn't that amazing?
It's the same default that we go to in our conversations that just turns it upside down. And those are good words. Epistle
to the Romans 12. Did I already say that one? Here's one. First epistle of Peter. That's chapter 2, verse 23. When they hurled their insults at him, he did not retaliate. When he suffered, he made no threats.
Yeah, that's talking about Jesus. So I mean, here he is being accused of blasphemy, and like his life is literally, this is a capital offense. Yeah. And yet he bites his tongue and refuses to vindicate himself, refuses to retaliate. I mean, just what a model. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
It does not.
But it works.
It goes against everything that our human nature is telling us. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And again, it's just, it's I guess at the end of the day, I'm hopeful, right? You're going to be hopeful.
Have to be.
Yeah. But we need to set a charge of some sort for our leaders, because it just blows my mind. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of these folks know better.
Oh, clearly, yes,
they do. Yeah. But power seems to just corrupt.
It does. Yeah. Well, and if you go back even to like high school debate or whatever, the ad hominem argument, it's literally the weakest argument, but So here's a connection to the digital age that maybe we haven't talked about is like the way we engage, we're looking for a soundbite.
Oh, of course.
We're looking for a clip that's going to go viral.
Yeah.
And that's what we're hoping to capture in that moment.
Yeah.
And so we go to the weakest type of argument, name calling, totally degenerating, in our conversation. But we hope that by doing that, we get some kind of viral moment that's going to bring people to our cause. And it's like, man, this is the weakest way we can actually dialogue.
Yeah, but see again, no, we will stop this soon, I'm sure. But you're monetizing that too.
Yes,
that's the problem.
Absolutely,
you are monetizing,
and then the algorithms are just feeding.
And so
give me more of that.
Everyone, leadership, media,
yes,
all just accepts it as the appropriate way to behave.
Correct.
And it's the exact opposite of what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and ultimately, it's the breaking down of our societal fabric and structure, because that a healthy society is built on the understanding that as humanity, we have to relate and interact in a way that's healthy, even if we have sharp disagreement, even if we literally see things from a totally different viewpoint. Exercising kindness in that relationship is what actually builds a healthy society, because it allows us to dialogue and engage in a way that leads ultimately to a better understanding. And we're doing, the exact opposite of what we've been called to do.
You know, my oldest daughter told me that I guess the month of February is all about kindness.
Wow.
Did you know that?
I did not know
a couple weeks ago when I told her, I've been posting up. Here's what I've been doing for the last several days. I'm going to try to do it for the next 100 days, is just a simple little social post that is built around a message that's about kindness, appropriate, behavior,
sure,
kind acts. And I'm just finishing it with a little illustration, and I'm just throwing it up on my social channel. It's so interesting though. I get like 6 responses to that. I do. If I throw something up that's got some sensational quality to it, it's just everyone shares it. It's kind of become a bit of a test now, because I'll keep doing it, but it's funny. It's like, oh, there's 4 people like the kindness topic, and there's 150 that love bashing and trashing, and I never post anything political. Yeah, I can't. It's just too much. And
I made a personal decision. It was actually in 2020 when things just started getting off the rails. I made a decision to back off. I mean, I'll post a picture of my family or something occasionally, but it's just became such a toxic environment on there. And I'm not saying that's for everybody, but just that was my decision. This is not benefiting me or anybody else.
Yeah. Well, I hope we've given some. I think it's mostly just the discussion allows us to put it out there into the social world. Maybe have some people consider kindness as an appropriate reaction.
Bring kindness back.
Well, because our children are paying attention.
Yes.
I mean, that's the bigger thing. If nothing else goes on in your head and heart, know that a child's paying attention. They're watching. They see it, and they will model it.
Correct.
So somehow, I'd love to see the devices addressed, and how we could be intentional from a leadership, maybe school system, but we should be talking to our kids directly.
Yeah, I think it's got to start with the parents first.
Parents, but even. We said it earlier. I do believe we're paying attention more than before about our health and well-being.
Yes.
I think a lot of things have gone away that were stigmas. Mental health used to be huge stigma.
Don't talk about it.
Do not talk about it. Right. Alcoholism. Do not talk about it. Even cancer. The 2 things I've addressed the last 2 years of my life. 11 years sober. Last year and a half, 2 years with this cancer, it's like I don't speak about it because I'm brave or I want to show my courage.
Right.
I speak about it because I know from an information understanding.
You're trying to lift the lid on these things.
It's just valuable stuff.
Yeah.
And the same goes with behaviors like kindness. It's like if we're not, if we are not modeling it, if we are not sharing and showing, there's no way a child's going to be able to understand it at all.
No.
You know, they may actually think it has no place in society.
Sure.
It just doesn't belong. Not that it'll go that way. I know that that's not how we're parenting, and I know that, you know, but I guess where I was going with this is we seem to care more and more about those things that used to scare the heck out of us, and are willing to talk out loud about them and be open about them. So I'm just prayerful that maybe the, public leaders and school systems and people that are really important to beyond the parents, bring
get more
this knowledge to our children, because it will make a difference in their longevity, their happiness, everything. So, well, that was maybe it.
That's great.
Did we miss anything? Do you think we might have?
No, I mean, I think we've hit the main topics on this, and I think at the end of the day, it's what is the end goal? Like, what are we trying to accomplish, as individuals, as a society? And like, if we accomplish all those things, but we lose kindness, like, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Did we actually advance as a civilization if we've lost kindness along the way? And so I think whatever we have to kind of dial back in order to focus more on treating each other with kindness, it's going to be worth it in the long run. So no, thank you for the opportunity to engage with it, dialogue on it. I'm honored to be a part of it, and hopefully this will help somebody and just recognizing the importance of this.
Well, thank you, young man. Here, buddy. So thank you for joining us at Not Strong, Empowering the Human Spirit. This has been Kurtis Loftus here with
Jeremiah Stanley.
Yeah, and maybe I'll get him back.
I'd love to.
All right.
I'd love to do that.
Peace, everyone. Be good.